Welcome to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. Welcome back to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. I am your host, Cherie Rickard. I am a medical professional, author, adversity recovery specialist, and co-founder of Silver Lining Wellness Company. I love sharing my faith and bringing you fascinating guests, Friday Fire messages, thinking outside the box, sharing ideas for business, beauty, and lifestyle abundance, and always committed to keeping it real. Now let's level up and let's dive in. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. I'm Cherie, and my guest today is Nicholle Overkamp. She is a personal finance expert and business coach for women. She is the founder and CEO of both Wilcox Financial Group and PowHERhouse Money Coaching. Today, Nicholle and I are talking about investing in yourself, your future, your life, how to build wealth without wealth, and also why all women should have that nest egg. Well, hello, Nicholle. How are you this morning?
Oh, I am so good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we were chit-chatting before about how you are basically the powerhouse of money. I don't know what else to call you but the powerhouse of money, because you have a powerhouse money coaching and you have a book, and you also are a CEO of your own finance company. I know we can learn a lot from you. And, I was telling you, money burns a hole in my pocket. So I think this is going to be a good topic, especially around this time of year where people are trying to kind of reboot, regroup, and revamp themselves into the new you of them of 2022. And if some finances have been a big issue for some women, possibly, then that's might be something they want to change next year. And so, I know that I put saving money on my vision board every year, but it doesn't work for me. So we'll talk about that. So thank you again for coming on from Buffalo, New York, where it's snowing, and I'm down here, and I think it's maybe 75 this morning, and by afternoon it'll probably be about 82. So
way to rub it in.
We're in two different planets over here. So talk to us a little bit, because I love the topic about building wealth without wealth, but I want you to first start and tell us a little bit about how you coach women. Talk to us about that.
So for us and how we work with women is really starting at the root of what do you want, right? What do you want? So sometimes it's actually hard for women because it sounds so simple, but it's not always easy, because women have this tendency to do often what they think they should be doing and are worrying about everybody else, right? Worrying about what their family needs, what their children want. Or if they're in a relationship, what their partner wants, and sometimes we conform to those things thinking we want them, and forget to ask ourselves inward, is this really in alignment with where I thought I was going or where I'd like to go? Right. So we always spend a ton of time talking about goals and what they want to achieve. And then from there, really reverse engineering on the how, right? And to your point, Cherie, you said, I put money on my vision board every single year and it doesn't change.
No.
A lot of the time that doesn't change because we don't think about why we want that, right? So if you start to anchor and envision, right, do the work part of that and say, if I have more money, or sometimes we'll say I want to make X amount, and we put it down there, but we don't do the work in terms of, well, why do I want to make that much money? How will it make me feel? And where will it get me? Right. And when you think about that and the power there, it's a lot more, simple, if you will, to like be disciplined and stick to it so that when it gets challenging, you're more likely to get through that muddy period of time than revert back to your old habits, because you've anchored the reason behind that, right? Carry that forward with you, my friend, into 2022. And then so beyond that part of it and having that conversation, truly digging a little bit deeper and even learning about your money type as well, so that any kind of money coaching we're doing or financial planning that we're doing, we're implementing solutions that work for you, for your
Mhm.
personality, for the type of life that you live. Because the biggest thing about building wealth and keeping it is in the discipline and consistency. So, and then everything else is truly education, what to do with your money, how to plan, and all of those financial details in between, which is terrific, but they don't hold a whole lot of weight if you don't do that other work first.
That makes a lot of sense because I think everything that we do, if you don't have a why on why you're doing it, then you always revert back. Me, for instance, will start a big weight loss training regimen and I'll set goals and what I'm going to do. But then I forget about the why. The why is because I want to be healthy. I want to be healthy now for my granddaughter and my kids.
Yeah.
But somehow she's the queen of the universe. So I want to be healthy and I want to be around and I don't put that why. So I think it's real important us as women, and I know, we've got tens and thousands of women that are listening to us. You have to have a why behind everything. So of course you would have to have it behind your money, but I think sometimes we think, well, the reason why I want more money is because I want to buy more stuff. But I think a lot of times we are too much trying to keep up with the Joneses. Today it's like, I
Yeah.
look at some of these women and I think we'll just use an example of Kyle Richards from Beverly Hills, Housewives of Beverly Hills. I used to watch those shows and I don't watch them anymore except for a few of them because I have friends that are actually housewives. But I look at her closet and I'm like, is that a real closet? Because you look at the money they spend on a purse, and I'm thinking, you could have just put 4 or 5 people in vehicles that were walking to work every day. So it's
Yes.
hard
Yes.
for me, that's hard for me to think that I would spend $60,000 on a purse. So I think it's all in perspective of how much money we make. But then again, how can we stay aligned with our values if we start to earn more money and
Mhm.
not spend it frivolously, I guess, and spend it the way that we would have if we had the same mindset when we did not have a lot? Does that kind of make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, absolutely. And there's really a few parts to that. And the first is, and I think this is important for women to remember, is if it doesn't serve you, let it go,
Mm,
right? Let it go, cut it out. And so ask yourself, everything that you do throughout the day, are there parts of it that are setting you up for failure? Are there parts of it that are creating a toxic mindset or behavior? And this doesn't sound like it relates to your money, but it does if you really think about it, right? And
mm.
you're such a perfect example. You said I stopped watching the Real Housewives of California, or wherever you had mentioned,
Well, all of them actually.
Beverly
We're
Hills,
watching
and
all of them.
okay, I'm such a loser. I don't watch any TV, so when people bring up this pop culture, I'm like stuck in the Stone Ages, and
Yeah,
so
it's okay.
um, so that's the first thing is, if it doesn't serve you, let it go. And then also, that famous quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And so it's really important, once you know what you want to achieve and what's best for you and your family, to create this like shield around you and
Right.
protect it like you protect your babies, right? And in doing so, it will make it so much easier when and we're in this world now where you're constantly bombarded with what everybody else has, right? What everybody else is
Oh.
doing. Nobody shares their dirty laundry, right? Nobody shares
Mhm,
their credit card statements, but you see the good life, right? And it's easy to fall
mhm.
into that booby trap of wanting it. But do you really, right? And so set some boundaries around that, and get really committed to not comparing yourself to anyone else, but beginning to put your money where your goals are and step into alignment with your future self. And so when you spend money, is it toward your higher purpose? Is it toward your goals, right? And really what you want to achieve, is giving you what you want to even accomplish for your family, perhaps, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur. And if not, say no. Set some hard boundaries, and you will
Right.
begin to start this snowball of actually feeling so much more confident about your money choices. Then I think sometimes we have that aftermath of like buyer's remorse, or we feel like we're going through this like yo-yo. Well, if I have savings, I have credit card debt, I have because sometimes we can just be impulsive and fall subject to our environment around us, versus really thinking about what it is that we want to achieve, and are we doing the things we want to accomplish, in such a
Mhm.
a simple example of that is, and going through some spending plans. And I always ask clients what their goals are. I mentioned that earlier. They'll write down, I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. And then I'll go through their statements, and there's fast food, there's alcohol purchases, like all over the place,
Right.
and so the question is, do you want to lose weight? Because it doesn't look like it, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to get healthy? Because it doesn't look like it. And so choose the behavior. There's not a right or wrong one, right? And if you want to choose to stay where you are, keep spending money on those things, but change your goal. If you want to retain that goal, if it's really important to you, you better make your habits in alignment with that, right?
Right.
And so sometimes we just don't recognize how we're spending money or wasting it, for that matter, in counteracting the very thing that we want to achieve. In health and fitness and weight loss is just such a simple example, because I think it's common ground for many of us, where we don't create the discipline or the habit behind the goal, and habits are the grassroots of achieving anything, right? So
Right.
that's super important, and a really good place to start.
Yeah, because I was just thinking back, the Bible says faith without works is dead. And I think a lot of times we put our faith, our goals, and all these things that we're going to accomplish, but we don't put the action. We don't put the
Right.
work behind it. We definitely
Mhm.
don't always put the action behind it. And then a lot of times I see women and just people in general, they self-sabotage. And I don't
Mhm.
know if it's because, and maybe you can put some insight into this, but I don't know if it's we self sabotage financially on ourselves, or whether it's weight loss or whatever we're trying to achieve,
Mhm.
because we don't believe in ourselves that we're going to be able to do. So if we self sabotage, then we can fail before we
Mhm.
actually get rejected on what we're
Yeah.
going for, and self-sabotage brings on such shame and guilt, and
Mhm.
all of these
Yeah.
feelings that we don't want to have. But I think one thing, and just kind of flipping it a little bit, because we had talked about this before, we're talking about maybe a woman who's gone through some serious financial issues. She may
Mhm.
or may not have just gotten divorced. She may or may not have just lost her job or her business, because the pandemic just ruined a lot of people last
Mhm.
year. And don't get me started on that. But unnecessarily, I may just throw in there, but that happened to so many of us. So
Mhm.
now they don't have the wealth. They might even
Right.
call it wealth. They may call it just their savings, because they don't feel that they have any wealth. So how do we start to build when we don't have anything to build from? We're ground zero, man. you know,
Yeah.
we're ground
Yeah.
zero, and we are supposed to build this wealth that we have on our vision board for 2022. How do we get there, Nicholle? Save us. Save us.
Oh boy, tall order. So first is recognizing that you're worth the effort, and you have to commit to putting in the work. You have to commit to being able to execute, right?
Mhm.
And so sometimes we stay where we are because we don't feel worthy of achieving anything different, because it's what we're used to. So even though we're complaining about it, or it doesn't feel good, we also don't know any different. So it's our routine, it's our baseline. So you
Right.
have to be willing to commit to changing that baseline. And in doing so, it's going to create a lot of discomfort, which is
Mhm.
something as human nature we avoid. And so it's committing to that, and then knowing what to do, and being okay with that, and
Right.
self-love. The highest form of self-love is giving yourself tough love to get the things that you really want. Getting a massage and going to the spa and all that, like that's nice, but that's not really pushing you to what it is you want to accomplish. And a lot of times that's like gritty work, right? So
Mhm.
being able to commit to that, and get your mindset right, is the first thing. And then to build wealth, you really have to take inventory of where you are currently. What is your income? What do you own? What do you owe? And taking a look at all of your bills, everything that's going out. And so if you audit that, there may be some things that you realize, I'm spending my money on this and I don't need to, right? It doesn't
Mm.
serve me. I forgot about that subscription, or whatever the case may be. Again, sometimes we just get really, really busy and don't pay attention to the little stuff, because it's little stuff. It's just small amounts, and they stack up. And so taking inventory of what you own and what you owe, and then based on what you accomplish, can you actually achieve that with where you are? Some of us, the answer to that is actually is yes. You just have to do the work, right? And so,
Right.
and even thinking about, it's not always what you make, but it's what you keep. And so, where in your budget, if you feel like you're constantly paycheck to paycheck, what can you cut out and then start to save and create that savings like a vault, and begin there, and then start investing and grow that snowball, and
Right.
start to ask questions, and get really obsessed with what that's going to create for you, what it's going to achieve for you, and the feeling that you're going to have, and just start to cut out everything that you don't need. And then if you know what you're capable of achieving, or you actually finally realize what it is that you want, you may
Mhm.
realize you can't stay where you are. You may realize that you need to get a new job. This may give you the gumption to ask for a raise because you know that you're actually underpaid or worth more, or perhaps, I think this has happened to so many people this year. Their position has shifted because there's such a shortage for labor that you may now be doing the work of three people, but getting compensated for one. And so, can you go and have that conversation to get paid more so that now you can have more income to take home and set aside? You may not be in a position to do that. Can you start a side hustle? Yes, you can, right? So start looking at the ways where you can begin to control your environment more.
Today's episode is sponsored by Heat Holders. It's getting cold again, and the best way to keep yourself warm this winter, 2 words, Heat Holders. Heat Holders makes the warmest thermal socks around. They keep your feet warmer than just ordinary socks in the coldest conditions. How do they do it? Heat Holders uses a 3-stage process with cashmere like advanced insulating yarn that's soft to the touch and brushed on the inside, and traps warm air close to your skin, keeping your feet warmer, comfortable, and dry. I love their socks. You guys know that I do not like cold feet. The first thing that I do in the morning is put on my Heat Holders socks. I also love their hats. You can go out and check my Instagram at Real Girl Talk Podcast today, and you will see me wearing one of Heat Holders' amazing hats. They're so soft on the inside. Heat Holders will pamper your feet. Heat Holders also makes the hats, the gloves, throws, scarves, and so much more. Give someone you love Heat Holders for the holidays. You can go to heatholders.com and enter the code REALGIRLTALK and save 15% off your order. Receive free shipping with any purchase of $25 or more. Don't freeze your butt and feet off this winter. Remember to go to heatholders.com. Use the code REALGIRLTALK. That's heatholders.com. Heat Holders, making life warmer.
And then as you're earning more, start keeping more. Sometimes if we don't pay attention, we earn more, spend more, right? That lifestyle creep. And so that's really such a good baseline in terms of that assessment, and looking at where you want to go, and just start keeping more, and then beginning to invest is that first way to build wealth. And you don't have to be wealthy to get wealthy, and anybody can do it, truly. And it's very much a relative term too, depending on what you're spending and your lifestyle and your goals. And so we overcomplicate it sometimes, and to your point, we'll self-sabotage or just say it's never possible. And if we tell ourselves that, it isn't ever possible, right? But if you can shift that belief in that mindset and say, you know what, I am capable of achieving this, and give yourself that credit that you can, and your past money self doesn't have to dictate your future money self, and anybody is capable of that.
You talked about investing, and I think it's important that when we're talking about investing, it's not just investing in something that is going to, give us back something financially immediately, or whatever the investing, but people forget to invest in themselves. I have invested in coaches. I have mentors myself. I've been a mentor. You people forget that you have to invest if you want to reap the rewards of that investment. And that can be something where you're investing in knowledge. How many times do we think that our tuition, our school, and our education, which is very important, because I told my son that, he's not allowed to ever speak to me again if he doesn't graduate from college, but that's a joke. But he's got a year and a half, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sick of it." And I'm like, "I don't care. Hang in there, buddy." And he probably won't ever use that particular degree, but I know he will never go back and go, "Man, I sure did waste a lot of time getting that degree." He'll never, ever say that, because that is investing in him personally. If he never
Mhm.
uses that degree, he will always be able to say he has a resume and he graduated from college. And it gives you that credibility, and that credibility gives you that self-worth feeling, right? Makes you feel worthy. I know people that quit 2 years before they graduated and they still talk about it today. They'll still talk about how, man, one of my biggest regrets is I didn't graduate from college, no matter where they are.
Mhm.
So I think it's super important that we invest in those kind of things. And it doesn't have to necessarily be college, but it can be education on how to grow your wealth. It can be
Mhm.
education on how to write that book or how to become a speaker or invest in, cooking. Maybe you love to cook and you want to up your skills and your ante, and that's your side hustle. You can invest in the education and go to a school just for that and get a certification in that. So talk about investing. And we kind of talked about investing and growing yourself. Where do
Mhm.
you suggest that we start investing, as far as investing in something, or investing in, I don't want to say a 401k or a Roth, or,
Yeah.
or whatever. What do you suggest when we're starting putting money back? Where do we put it? Do we put it in savings? Where do you suggest we put it?
Going to 1000% back you on how important it is to invest in yourself. And if you are someone who is in financial no man's land, definitely hire a pro, right? And
Hmm.
not a specific plug for me, but someone that you
Right.
can relate to,
Right.
that you trust. And so because that value or the return that you're going to get is huge, because you're going to get the education to take the action on all the specific things custom to your life,
Hmm.
and so that's first. And then where to start investing. There's so many different things. And the first is, you always want to make sure that you do have at least, that 3 to 6 month cushion in cash for emergency reserves. Because with investing in anything, there's risk, and it's not always completely liquid. And so really important to have that cushion built up. And that range is different for you depending on your life circumstance, depending on how many kids
Right.
you have, the level of risk in your life. So but soft guideline, and then really starting to think about all of the other stuff, right? So if you
Mhm.
work for an employer and they have a 401k match, take advantage of that. It's free money, up to the match, and then maybe start considering some other stuff. If it's longer term goals, retirement accounts like Roth IRAs, or putting more into your retirement plan than just the match. If you can afford to do more than that, or non-retirement investment accounts, those are liquid, you can access them anytime. And so if you have a shorter term goal, like maybe you want to buy investment property, right? That's another way to do it. In 5 years, then you can do that. And then you can buy real estate that you can rent out that gives you income as well. So a lot of different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. There's so many particulars and details, and how much risk you're taking on, and that sort of thing. But that's where the question asking comes in,
Mhm.
right? So which one of these tools, or vehicles rather, is going to help me get to my specific end goal? And then making sure that you are asking the questions, and I tell my clients this all the time, is that if I'm not answering it, don't pretend like you understand.
Mhm.
Keep asking until you get it, because if you don't understand what a professional is saying, that's not your fault, it's theirs, right? Because we're
Right.
the experts, we should be able to break it down so anybody can get it. And never be ashamed to not speak up, to not ask more questions, because it's your money, it's your future, it's your life. So really, permission granted, ask all the questions, and I get I'll hear a lot too, from some clients in like company 401k meetings, and they'll say to me, well, I didn't speak up, or I didn't ask a question because he seemed really busy, or he seemed like he wouldn't be able to break it down in a way that I understood, because everything was so complicated. And and
Right.
those are the times that break my heart, because those are the opportunities that you do have to get more information, and seek that.
Right.
And then again, if you don't ask the question, you don't enroll, you might have just cut yourself out of a lot of opportunity. And so
Right.
always raise your hand, and get the help that you need. And if you can't get it from the person you're asking, go somewhere else,
Go
right?
somewhere else. Yeah,
Yeah.
I truly believe that you have to be aligned with the
Yeah.
person that you're getting a mentorship from. I've shared this
Mhm.
before. When I lost my son 14 years ago, in his car accident, I did not know who to talk to. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a grief counselor. I don't know if a grief counselor can help you bury your 17-year-old son. My answer is no. I had to go through 4 women. I would literally sit there and go, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, you just, you just would not connect with anyone. I could not connect, which is one of the reasons why I went and got my certification in adversity recovery and grief, just to mentor myself. Because
Yes.
I thought
Yeah.
you people have no idea what you're doing. But I
Mhm.
literally got to that point to where I started researching and doing the grief recovery myself. And then I did connect with someone. And I only went to go see her probably 4 or 5 times. But in that 4 or 5 times, I went leaps and bounds to where I should have been 7 or 8 months prior, just going through the motions of trying to find that right person. And then I would stick it out with that person, even though I wasn't connecting. And to me, that is the biggest no-no. If I could tell anybody, wherever you're getting coaching from, whether you're getting some type of mentorship or coaching because you've gone through a divorce, or hopefully not like myself and had to bury a child, or if you're trying to get financial coaching, whatever it is, if you're not connecting on that first interaction, move the heck on, because
Mhm.
the odds are you're going to invest time now and money in someone that you're not going to connect with. You're not going to believe them. You're not going to trust them. And I think trust and faith in someone is number one. If you don't have a connection, to me, that's your intuition. And that is yourself telling you, you know what, this is just not the person for
Mhm.
you. This person is not genuine, or this person is not going to serve your needs. Just, it's no love loss, just thank you, no thank you, and move on to someone else. So I'm glad that you mentioned someone to connect with, because I think
Mhm.
that's super important. Whatever goals that we're trying to reach, that we do have to, have that connection. Now, going back to the money aspect, because we're going to run out of time. What do you feel like women are facing right now, whether it be in business, or maybe that's all they have a big business, or they have a side hustle and they work full time. What is the biggest challenge that you see facing women right now in building financial wealth in their business, going to that next step?
Building wealth in their business, I think for women, a challenge is there's a few things: feeling pressure,
Mm,
inability to delegate like they need to, and not enough confidence to price appropriately. Those things are probably the top three that I see with women. And actually, it's not just the fresh entrepreneur. We see that with very seasoned entrepreneurs as well. And so when I say pressure, and this is for probably all women, right? And
mhm.
why I think we fail to prioritize ourselves in setting that appointment to talk about finances in planning, is because now women are not only working full time, and our jobs are probably, for many of us, demanding more than what they used to. And then we have the family commitments, we have our children, and we
Right.
have our aging parents. If you're falling into that, if you're in your 30s or your
Mm,
40s, or even 50s, right, you're
yeah.
dealing with all of those things. And so, I've found in all of the clients that we work with, which is mainly women and couples. For women, if we're married, our husbands want to help, but they don't know how. And so if they are wanting to help and willing, we also have to tell them what to do, and that's a mental drain. And so sometimes it feels for us easier to do everything ourselves than to even ask for help, because telling them what to do and asking for it also feels exhausting, right? So, one, still ask for the help, because it will save you the time and the effort, I promise you. So, get that done
Mhm.
if you're someone in that scenario, but also stop playing martyr. So, if you do feel like you're so busy that you can't take on one more thing, start setting some hard boundaries, start saying no. Start taking a good look at what is it in your life that you can either say no to, set a boundary around,
Mhm.
and then second, start hiring for help.
Yeah.
If whether it is childcare, whether it is just asking more relatives for assistance, or friends, whatever the case may be, like, people do usually want to help. It's just they don't know we need it. So
Right.
speaking up, and then in your business, if you are an entrepreneur, and you're again feeling that crunch, we, especially a lot of type A's, right? We want to do
Right.
everything ourselves because our way is the best way, and nobody else can do it like us. And so, taking a look at
You're
an
actually
assessment,
right.
right?
You're
Yeah,
actually
I
very
know.
right, Nicole.
That struggle is real. I can relate to all of you saying, like, obviously, right now. But the reality of it is when you're an entrepreneur, you should only be working in your zone of genius, not your
Yeah.
zone of competence. And anything outside of that, you really need to think about how you can delegate that down, so that when you do that, you're actually helping yourself increase your profitability because you're going to continue to up level your ability to not only grow the company, but really focus on the things you should be focusing on, and not some of those time wasters, even though of course you can do them well. And then next is that confidence piece. And we sometimes feel maybe guilty or greedy for asking for more money, or what are people going to think of me if I charge this, or the worst, what if they say no? What if I'm going to fail? You know, we what if ourselves to death. And the reality of it is you have to look at, like, for all the time that you're spending in your business and what you're getting compensated, and not your revenue, but what you're taking home in profit. Okay. Two different things. Is it worth it? Like, are you getting paid what feels good to you for all of the blood, sweat, and tears, for all of the experience that you have? And for many of us, the answer is no. And so how can you raise the bar? How can you sell with more conviction and confidence, and raising your prices? Because that's what people buy. They buy value, they buy confidence. You know, price is very oftentimes not the biggest factor. And so we have to believe in that. And then also know that we are not for everyone. We are not for everyone. And our people will find us, and the people who are for us in our business and who we're serving will pay that price. And so, you know, keeping that in mind, and being confident about it, because asking for more money is not bad. It helps you help more people. It helps you be a kinder person when you feel like you're getting paid your value, you know, and growing from there.
Amen, sister. You know, and one more question. I could just talk to you all day, because look, I told you I was going to be taking notes, and I've got so many notes. I've just wrote all over this thing. It looks like my 5-year-old granddaughter has started writing on this thing. It's everywhere. But I wanted to ask you, I know that you think it's important that women have their own nest egg.
I think that, yes, I mean, all women should have their own reserves or nest egg.
Right.
If you're in a relationship, marriage especially, if you want to stay with your husband forever, it is important to know everything about the finances as a team and work as such. Okay. Yes. I can't stress it enough to ask the questions, to be fully aware, to know all of the things. If you are someone who does not want to stay with your spouse for the rest of your life, and you know you want to leave them, but you don't know how, or maybe you haven't left them yet because you're not sure you can afford it, that is when, then yes, it's really important to start thinking about where can you start maybe hiding money, or putting monies aside in a separate account they may not know about, or finding ways. And I actually did a video about this not too long ago in our Money Bitch community on Facebook, that I would encourage anybody to go watch if this is you, and in ways that you can start inconspicuously, maybe a little bit at a time, putting money aside for yourself so that you can get the help that you need to maybe leave your spouse, especially if it is a circumstance that may be abusive. You know, it's really, really important that you start being very, very careful, of course, you know, because those are very sensitive scenarios, but having some monies for yourself, or if you're just not quite sure what the future has in store. Again, you know, definitely having a little cushion aside that you may or may not choose to talk about. So that way, in the event something happens, or you have a mistrust issue going on, you do have a little bit of savings to get you through that tough time, for sure. You know, but in a healthy relationship that you want to remain healthy, I cannot stress enough how you have to be on the same page and communicate and play as a team. You cannot bury your head in the sand and say, my husband's taking care of everything, or my wife is taking care of everything. You know, he may, or she may say that they are, because they feel the burden and the pressure to take care of you, but they may very much feel that burden and pressure and have no idea what they're doing, you know, or wish that you did participate and they're afraid to ask. And so that's really critical to any successful relationship. And it's one of the top reasons why people split.
In our household, it's just the opposite. My husband will go, honey, how much money do we have? I go, don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You need something? And it's funny because he does not want to fool with that. Now, we'll say we have a business together, but I also work. You know, I work in corporate America, as well as I have a very successful podcast show, which is my baby. And together we have our Silver Lining CBD business, and he basically runs the business. You know, I do the marketing aspect, but he runs all the sales, and he watches the account and he knows what he's doing, but we have an accountant because neither one of us would know what the heck we're supposed to do. We have an
Yeah.
accountant that deals, she will literally send us an email and she'll say, what was this purchase for? What was this purchase for? And we're like, dang it. It's like a mama. We have to be accountable to Ashley. This is just the way it
I
is.
love it.
It's funny because like he handles the business part, but because I handle all the other part, just our personal life and all the bills, he'll be like, he'll say, how much money do we have? I'll be like, oh, we got plenty. Don't worry about it. You need something? No. Okay. And we'll just move on. So, where a lot of times it's just the opposite. It's the woman asking, and I am a huge advocate for women need to build their own wealth because in case you have to plan that great escape. Unfortunately, I am not an advocate for divorce, but I am also a divorced woman after 12 years and remarried. And we've been married, I don't know, 22, 23 years. I've lost track. You do have to plan that great escape. And I did have to save money because I did know that I was leaving my first marriage 20 something years ago. And I did have to plan because we put all of our money together. So how was I going to have money to even rent a U-Haul and get the heck out of there? Right. So you have to learn those ways. So thank you so much, Nicholle. I appreciate you. And speaking of the Great Escape, where can we go and see that Facebook?
It's right on Facebook. It is called the Money Bitch Community. I believe it's Money B Community though, because Facebook doesn't like swearing. And the link to that group is also right in our Instagram bio. So in our Instagram at PowHERhouse Money, there is a link to everything that we have going on, both company websites, the book, our online courses, workshops that we're doing, and of course that community where we are constantly doing educational videos. We're encouraging women to talk about money freely without being judged, to network, to help each other in any scenario, money related or not, where you can have a space where you don't need to worry about unsolicited advice, of course, but in a place where women are all achieving that same goal and truly believe in not only lifting each other up, but believe in not judging one another. And, in that community, we accept you as you are, and just showing up for who you are in a space where we're helping to mentor you to just be that better version of yourself.
I love that. And I want to make sure that everybody understood what you said. It's PowHER. So
yes,
not POWER, but POWHER house. Okay. So I want to make sure everybody can find you. So tell everybody all of the avenues to where we can find you, Nicholle.
The best place truly is going right to our Instagram because we do have direct links to everything. So it is PowHERhouse Money is the Instagram handle. And I would love for everybody to connect with us there. Send me a DM if you have a question or something about the show that you wanted to dig deeper on. I'd love to start that conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you because I know everybody has learned a lot from you because I know I have with all of my great notes down here. And ladies, make sure that you go follow Nicholle. If you do have a question for her, she's giving you permission right now to send her a DM. I mean, are you kidding me? This is like, you can ask your money question for free for her. And she is a coach, so she charges. So take advantage of it when my guests come on and say, hey, listen, shoot me a DM and I'll answer you, because that's super important. I mean, you're basically investing in yourself by taking that 30 seconds to send Nicholle a message. So make sure that you do that. And I appreciate you, Nicholle. I really, really do. Thank you. Keep fighting for those women and helping us become wealthier in our businesses and our personal life. I appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you so much. This has been an awesome chat.
Thank you for tuning in all the way through Real Girl Talk Show. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you happen to have iTunes, would you do me a favor and leave me a review on the show? I know you're going to leave me a 5-star, right? That's the way that I can reach more and more people around the world. Remember, whatever you wish to receive, you have to first give. And I know that you're the kind of person that wants to reach people all over the world and inspire them. You can copy this link and share it with your family and friends. Share it on social media. Remember, people need to be uplifted and inspired more than ever today. Thank you so much for being a part of Real Girl Talk community. And until next time, go after your dreams, create your vision, and truly be the person God intended you to be. Healthy, happy, whole, and full of life. Love you.